Hey guys, it's Katy at scrappinkaty.ctmh.com, and it is day 3 of the DIY Perfect Pandemic Presents collab that I am doing with my girls over on the creative design team. And I have a fun little pocket gift to share with you today.
Okay, so for day 3 of the DIY Christmas projects from the creative design team, I have pulled out a couple of sheets of paper and then a couple of card bases. So this piece of paper is from our new Serenity collection, and I just love just the bluebells, and it's even got some darker, our sapphire. I just love those blue colors, and then it's even got these mustardy or yellow gold specks in it. So this is the pattern paper that I'm going to be using. And then I've pulled out our mix-ins. Now, if you're familiar with Close to My Heart comes out with a paper packet that's called mix-ins, and it is basically designed to match with the paper packets that are current in the current 2-month catalog. So on this side, we've got this leaf pattern, again, in our color of the year bluebell, but I'm going to be using this back side, which again has the bluebell color and then the darker sapphire polka dot. Hope you guys can see that. So for my card bases, you know that I love the white cards and envelope value pack that Close to My Heart has. It retails for $14.95, and it is such a great deal. I mean, not only for cards, but you guys have seen me use it for multiple things. So I've pulled out one of those card bases. It's already pre-scored, which is wonderful. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a little pocket with this front flap. So I want to kind of get a pencil, if I can find one. So I want to mark, I want about 1.5 inches from the top and about 2 inches, or about 1.5 inches from the top and 1.5 inches on the bottom, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do a mark at 1.5 inches. So the fold is down here. I have my cutter kind of backwards, but I always like this pull out at the bottom, not the top. So my fold is down at the bottom, and I'm going to put that right edge at 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to make a little bitty tick mark right there. So we're going to open this back up, and then along this score line, now my cutter is a little bit different. You'll need to know where your blade actually cuts in this cutter. So mine actually cuts right on the edge of this titanium rod. I know some of them cut right in the middle, so you'll need to know that. So I'm just going to find that score line. And this measures, it's a standard size card, so it's 5.5. So if I want to cut 1 inch down, I'm going to stop my blade at 4 inches. So I've got it like that. And then I'm going to turn, and I want to cut from that point to this little tick mark that I made at 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to find that tick mark and then find that cut. And again, all cutters are different. Okay, I think I found it. And I found it. So I'm just going to cut up to that mark. So now I'm left with this. So we want to decorate the back side. Now hang with me. I don't want to show you what I'm doing yet, but we're going to do this one, and then you'll have to come make sure you watch the end of the video, because I do have some different styles. So I want to decorate this back portion, and I do want just a little bit of a white border around it. So that back portion measures 5.5 by 4.25. And so I'm going to cut my paper at 4 inches. And then I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm going to cut at 5.25. And then that way, when we glue this down, you'll see a little bitty tiny white edge around it. Now, this polka dot paper from the mix-ins is what I want to cover this flap with. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut, and again, I want on this one, I don't want a white border. So I'm going to cut at 4.25. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut all the way to 5.5. So it'd be a standard size card front, 4 1/4 by 5.5. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to pencil mark it because this is what I cut off. And so I'm just going to put that on the back because I want my pencil mark on the back so it can be hidden. And then I am just going to make a pencil mark right there. And you could do this with your scissors at this point. I personally do not trust my straight cutting. I can cut straight all day if you give me a paper trimmer, but if you give me a pair of scissors, there are no guarantees. And so then we have this cover. So let me adhere that down. Let me get rid of that paper trimmer and let me adhere this down. Now this gift that I'm about to show you is really good. We used to make homemade and give it away, but of course, under these circumstances, you probably don't want to give homemade anymore. I mean, if you're working with, close family and friends, you probably could, but this is just so easy. I don't even know why you would go to the trouble of it. And the packaging is just so cute that I think whoever is the recipient of this is going to love it, whether it's homemade or bought. Now keep in mind, this one also has that thin white line around it. So I just want to line that up and kind of center it left to right. So I've got that glued down, and then of course here's where this is. So off camera, I have gone ahead and I've cut the sentiment Merry Christmas, and that is from the Yuletide Border Thin Cut. And you guys have seen me use that quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. And then I've also cut a couple of snowflakes. Now this is a retired thin cut, but we do have a current one that has, not only is it just the thin cuts, but it also has a coordinating stamp set. Now both of these, or all three of these, are cut using the sapphire cardstock. And then I also have some, I like to call it tear tape, but it's just really strong tape. And you'll want that for this project. And we're just going to put that along the bottom of this little flap. And we're going to make sure that it's really burnished on. Now you can bring in your bone folder if you would like, however you like to do. I like to think my fingers are pretty strong. And then I'm just going to pull up that backing and then go ahead and adhere that down. Now I do want to make sure that those bottoms line up. And so now I'm kind of working with a pocket. Now you'll notice that I did not tape that here because we're going to add some ribbon here in just a second. So I like this Merry Christmas. And of course you can tell it's a little bit too long. So let me go ahead and come up with the places for my snowflake. I really like that, but I really like this one because of the hexagon in the middle. But I'm just not sure. So I really think I'm going to go with this larger snowflake. Thanks for hanging out with me there and making sure. And I think I'm actually going to put it on that left side. And then I'm going to do some trimming of the tails of these. So right now I'm just going to use liquid adhesive to adhere this snowflake down. Got some gummy part right there. Use some liquid adhesive. You could use some 3D foam tape, but I mean those are tiny little pieces on this snowflake. So I just felt that liquid adhesive would do enough. And then once we jam pack the pocket full of stuff, it's already going to have quite a bit of dimension. Now this is a gift that I would probably not mail unless you were mailing it in a box with some other goodies. Simply because, you'll see here in just a second, but it's just not going to mail very well. So we did that. And then I want to go ahead and put on this Merry Christmas. So let me see. I think I want to just trim off. I may not even need to trim that one off. Maybe a little. So I think I'll adhere it down and then I'll just trim off what is left. Now for this, you're really just going to kind of have to I usually like to do dots in this instance. Just kind of get glue wherever you can get glue. You don't want a whole lot of overage, but you really don't even need a whole lot to begin with. You definitely want to make sure that those tails are adhered down. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to turn that over my shaky hand, and then I'm going to adhere that right here. Now, if you're not a Christmas person, you definitely could just add this for anything. I've made this one extremely wintry. And so you could, I think I'm going to leave that tail there and then just cut off a little bit of that. So you definitely could just make it wintry and not put a Christmas statement on there. Because of the snowflake, because of the gorgeous blues, it definitely would work just for the winter. Okay, so we've got that, and then let's go ahead and punch that hole and add some ribbon. And I'm just going to punch a hole. Let's punch a hole right there. And I've pulled out just some ribbon from my stash. Feel free to use whatever ribbon you want. You know, blues, usually I like silver with them, and so that's why I pulled out this light gray. But because of the gold specks in that paper that I'm using, some gold would look pretty as well. So whatever you like. And again, you don't have to do ribbon. You probably could do score tape on that side. It's just, I am mimicking one that I actually received. I received a gift very similar to this during one of our team retreats and crops. And I just thought it was so adorable. And my upline who made the treats, she's the one that had the ribbon tied off to the side. And I just thought it kind of added just that special something. And so I wanted to mimic that on this one as well. So I'm going to pull out my good scissors. You know, those scissors that kids get yelled at if they use to trim that ribbon. And then now comes the star of the show. Okay, before the star of the show, don't you like that suspense? Before the star of the show, I am going to go ahead and add a second layer. That just seems kind of bare to me. So I'm going to go ahead and add this snowflake, but I want it to pop up. I want to add some dimension. Well, of course, like I mentioned on the other one, it's going to be kind of hard to do that. But what I've decided to do is I am going to glue these together with one of our foam circles. And then that way, not only will the foam circle attach those two together, but I'll also attach it to my project. Now, I think that one's going to be, no, that one is going to be perfect. So I'm going to get my paper piercer. And I am just going to peel this foam circle. I love these foam circles. So we have it in regular thickness, and then we also have thin. And I love them because there's just no cutting. They're perfect for backing flowers. You can see here, it's a hexagon. You know, I am actually taking great care on this one. But usually you don't have to because it's just a circle and done. So all I did was I was making sure that that was centered, which I'm happy with the placement. Now I did use the forward-facing snowflake is the true color or the dark side to the sapphire. And the center I used the other side, the light side. So Close to My Heart's cardstock is one side is dark and then the other is light. So I'm just going to adhere that down in the middle there. Kind of bring those little flakes up. And so now I think we're ready for the star of the show. So here comes the hot cocoa. Now there may be different brands, but this particular brand, which is the Swiss Miss, it has marshmallows because the hot cocoa that we usually give as gifts in a little mason jar, we put marshmallows in there. But I don't want to handle the marshmallows, hence the hot cocoa that already has the marshmallows. And then we always like to put some sort of peppermint stick or peppermint candy. Not that you really drink hot chocolate with peppermint, but our kids just love to take the larger candy canes and stir their hot cocoa with that. So there is my project, and then stay tuned to see some of the other ones that are different styles and more Christmas themed. Okay, so as promised, I have a couple more variations. Now this is using the Jingle Joy paper packet, and again, we still have the hot cocoa mix. I didn't have an extra candy cane, but you definitely could put one in there if you want. This one I did the same way, tied a bow on the side, and then this is a sticker from the sticker sheet for the Jingle Joy. I just took the sticky off the back of him and then added some 3D foam tape. And then here's one to show you what you can do without cocoa. So you can really put anything in this little pocket. These are some pencils from Target's Dollar Spot, as well as the erasers. And I just put the erasers in a clear bag and then tied some baker's twine around those pencils to keep them together. And then that would be super cute. Again, you can put anything in those pockets that you have on hand or that you can find at Target or Walmart, Dollar Tree. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Now, don't forget that this is a part of the Creative Design Team series. So you'll want to head over tomorrow to Jama's blog and see what she has to share. I know you're going to love it based on all of her prior projects. And tomorrow I'll leave a direct link. So if you are watching this on Thursday, there'll be a direct link down below to Jama's video.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. If you liked what you saw, please leave me a thumbs up and a comment. And as always, I would love to have you subscribe and sign up for notifications. Don't forget to check back tomorrow to see what Jama has to share. And tomorrow, Thursday, I will have a direct link down in the description below to her video so you can go straight to that and check it out.